Hello everyone, I'm Ian Schill and today I'm doing my restoration profile, and of course I chose our first prophet, Joseph Smith. He's always been a favorite of mine, and yeah, I've always loved reading about him ever since I was a really little boy. I really loved reading the stories about his life. I found plenty in this book right here, Stories from the Life of Joseph Smith. It's a really good book. I highly recommend reading it. It's a simplified biography on Joseph Smith from his birth in Vermont to his death in Illinois. And then I also loved this. It's a history of Joseph Smith by his mother, Lucy Mack Smith. It's told from his mom's point of view on his life, and she also shares about her life as well. And then she has other interesting descendants and other stuff written in at the very end. And that's a good book too. But yeah, I just reading those stories about Joseph Smith, I've always loved them, and there have been so many stories that have stuck out to me. And like when I was really little, I could tell the story of the first vision really well. I really loved that story. And yeah, that's one of the top stories, because he prayed to know which church to join, and he got the answer, and that was of course the beginning of the restoration. And and another story that stuck out to me is his leg operation way before his first vision. It was a difficult thing he had to go through, because there was no anesthetic at that time, and he had to endure being awake for his leg to cut open, and he refused to drink alcohol or be tied down for his operation. All he wanted was his father to hold him. And yeah, it was really intense for his age, but he trusted in the Lord, and he knew that Heavenly Father would help him through that. And if he didn't want his mother, because he knew it would be hard on her. And yeah, for more detail, I recommend looking into this book, because his mom goes into great detail on that story, and it's really interesting. And also another story that always stands out to me is when he was an adult and had two adopted twin babies. At one point, he was tarred and feathered by his enemies. That story has always stuck out to me, because it was a very hard thing he had to go through. They hurt him really bad by scratching his body and putting tar and feathers on him, and it took a long time to clean up. And Sidney Rigdon also endured it, and his wife was scared, and then he even lost one of his babies because the door was open and the cold air came in. And yeah, but he still did his part as a prophet. I mean, the next day after that day was Sunday, and he still went to church and spoke to his congregation, and he noticed some of the men from the mob there, and he didn't say anything to them, but he still spoke in church that day, even though it was hard. And another story that amazes me was when he stood up for himself while in the jail in Missouri, when the guards were saying very crass and rude things about the saints and telling gross stories. He stood up for himself, and even though he would have been killed, he stood up and told the guards to stop telling those stories. And also, the story that amazed me the most was another story that amazed me the most was when he went to Carthage, and how he knew that he wouldn't come back. Even though he knew he wouldn't come back, he still stayed true. He shared his testimony with the guards in Carthage jail, and he and his brother and friends found peace in the jail. And meaning, even though they were shot, they stayed true to their testimonies right to the very end. And Joseph Smith continues to be a great example in all our lives today. He did many great things. He had restored the church, went through these trials, and did many great things to keep us moving forward. And he is still he lives on. Even though he died, he still lives on. And I look forward one day to meeting him in the spirit world or when we're resurrected. Yeah, I've loved Joseph Smith, and I love reading the stories, and I look forward to continuing to learn more about Joseph Smith, and when I have children, to sharing the stories of Joseph Smith and teaching them